Hey, what's up everyone, Omahe, and welcome back to another video. In today's video guys, we're comparing two 35mm lenses, the chunky Samyang f1.4 versus the little Sony f1.8, a $500 lens versus $750. $250 difference. No doubt, Sony native lenses are always more expensive than third-party lenses. So is Sony 35mm any better? This is a new episode of Superglass, and let's figure out. Guys, there are major differences between Sony and Samyang, mainly in the shallow depth of field, flare, dealing with the humidity, and sharpness quality. Check the timeline here on the screen if you like to jump to a specific section immediately. However, the size and the weight are the first different factor you notice when holding these two lenses. Bigger size doesn't always mean better. Like when covering an event, people think you are more professional if you have a big camera, a chunky zoom, and a flash on the top maybe. Even if you have all these stuff on you, another photographer will show up, maybe with two cameras, and people believe that guy is more professional than you. Sony 35mm is significantly lightweight, weighs 9.9 ounces, 281 grams only, while Samyang is roughly 2.5 times heavier. 23 ounces, 645 grams. That's a lot of difference, guys. Sony is more like similar to the size of a Zeiss 55mm. The filter thread is also larger on Samyang. Sony filter size is 55mm while Samyang is 67mm. We got no buttons on Samyang, while Sony has autofocus switch button and a custom button as well. That allows fast selection between autofocus and manual focus without having to access the camera menu. I tend to use the autofocus switch button a lot these days. Both lenses, on the other hand, are built well and I believe made out of plastic. However, Sony feels quite better and more solid. Love the red ring on Samyang. Sony got no special design here, but the focus ring is a bit extruded, which may help when focusing manually. Both Sony and Samyang 35mm have no steady shot or image stabilization. Sony can do a minimum aperture of f22 while Samyang can do only f16. Both lenses lack of water resistance, and the lens gaskets look exactly the same. Sony claimed the 35mm lens has dust and moisture resistance construction that will permit operation in less than ideal weather conditions. But I didn't find that really accurate. Here's my story. I live in Dubai and sometimes the weather is pretty humid here. So I took both lenses with me to the balcony and Sony started showing fog on the lens front element. Samyang survived and didn't show any mark. However, I went back to the air-conditioned room and discovered the fog went inside the lens. Got nothing to do, kept the lens for an hour or so and the fog disappeared. The test was made in April. But what happened is really normal, guys. The same could happen with any lens if you take it from a cold temperature room to somewhere outdoor with a humid weather. There is a lot of videos on the internet discussing this topic if you would like to learn more. Minimum focus distance. While you're watching, I'm giving you some information in the background. Sony minimum focus distance is up to 8.7 inches, 22cm. Samyang minimum focus distance is limited to 11.8 inches, 30cm. So technically you can reach much closer with Sony and get kind of macro photography. Both lenses make beautiful portraiture and I've done several photo shoots in the past with Samyang and Sony 35mm. Eventually you can tell which image is which lens. Although the experience is different, both lenses do the job perfectly. And I tend to like Sony much more because it's lighter, smaller, the autofocus motor system is better, and the image quality is slightly sharper. These minor factors make a difference to some people. Check the sharpness quality test at the end of the video, or have a look at the review timeline in the description. And before jumping to the rest of the video, I would like to introduce you to my new Lightroom presets. We recently launched 2 custom preset packs for Portraiture. One is nature theme and the other one is urban style. Each pack includes about 10 different presets, compatible with Adobe Lightroom Classic, Photoshop Lightroom, and Photoshop Camera Raw. Now the first 100 buyers will get 50% off. Use the coupon code FIRST50. Head off to omagmrawi.com/store and get yours now. Bokeh Quality. Both 35mm has 11 elements in 9 groups. Sony is on the right and Samyang is on the left. At f1.8, the amount of shadow depth of field of Sony is much less than Samyang. I'm technically using the same settings and both images shot from the same spot. And the bokeh amount should be similar, but these two lenses came from different manufacturers. I kept playing with Samyang to find that the bokeh at f2.5 on Samyang matched the f1.8 look on Sony. I've no really answer for this, but these two lenses came from different manufacturers, and let me know guys if you have another explanation in the comment section down below. Autofocus speed. So when it comes to autofocus, both lenses does the job, but I tend to agree that Sony is a bit faster than Samyang. Samyang does hunt sometimes. Focus area set to zone, which I found it on some lenses a bit faster than wide focus area. Autofocus speed set to fast, and tracking sensitivity to responsive. Samyang motor on the other hand is a bit noisy in autofocus, while Sony is completely silent. Here are other few things to consider guys. I think manual focus user will love Samyang focus ring. It's more accurate in manual focus. It's much smoother than Sony, and it takes roughly 2 spins from the minimum to maximum focus distance. I believe Sony is just 1 spin. Manual focus. The video you're watching now is at 200% zoom. Lens flare. Ultra multi-coating has been applied on Samyang to control flare and ghosting. Sony doesn't mention information about that. So let's check how both lenses handle lens flare. Both Samyang and Sony mention to have aspherical elements, which help in controlling color fringing, distortion, and improving sharpness. So let's check Chromatic Aberration at f1.4 on Samyang and f1.8 on both lenses. So we got Samyang on the left and Sony on the right. Both lenses have heavy vignetting wide open, Sony at f1.8 and Samyang at f1.4, and that's gradually fade off when stepping down to smaller aperture settings. One more thing to mention, Samyang looks slightly wider than Sony, while both images have been captured from the same spot. Alright, next I'm testing sharpness. Sony is significantly sharper than Samyang wide open. Sony is at f1.8 and Samyang is at f1.4. Check here. and here. At f1.8, Samyang does a better job, but still no near to Sony wide open. At f2.2 and f2.8, Samyang sharpness is very close to Sony in the center, while it gets softer on the sides and corners. Both lenses share similar image quality at f4. Here is in the center and corners. Samyang does a great job actually. It's not that bad if you do my photography. Indeed, I love sharper lenses, but for 2/3 the price, it's a good bargain. But on the personal side, I love lightweight and the small gear, so Sony 35mm is my favorite toy here. The autofocus speed is also much faster and doesn't hunt like sometimes Samyang does. That's it guys, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, please hit the like button and consider subscribing for more. This was Oma, and see you in another one.